Friends, I have a new story today. It's a great one. I think from a toy that goes on an adventure. I think it's just really a fun story, and I am impressed with the author's imagination on this one. It made me smile, and I think you'll really like it too. Our story is called The Runaway Duck by David Lyon. And there's our duck. It's a toy. And I wonder if you can notice, looks like it's got some wheels. And maybe think of the toys that you saw or got to play with when you were little. And maybe you even had a toy like this or have ever seen one. The Runaway Duck. One morning, Sebastian Willowfrost was playing in the garage. He was rolling Egbert, his favorite toy, around on the floor. Egbert was a carved wooden duck with wheels and a long nylon string for pulling. The wheels were mounted on metal axles and rolled very smoothly. One wheel had a plaque on which Sebastian had written his name. I see it right up here. Suddenly, Sebastian's father, Albert Willowfrost, called him in for lunch. "Just a minute," cried Sebastian. Sebastian tied Egbert to the bumper of his father's car so that he wouldn't roll away. Lunch was sandwiches and soup. Sebastian's father ate quickly, wiped his face with a napkin, kissed Sebastian's mother goodbye, and hugged Sebastian. He was going on a long business trip and wouldn't be back for a week. Sebastian forgot that Egbert was tied to the bumper of his father's car. By the time Sebastian remembered, Egbert was doing 60 miles an hour down Route 95. The road was rough and Egbert bounced all over. Do you see this? Pulling behind the car. Racing around a sharp mountain turn, Egbert's tie string broke. Egbert sailed off underneath the guardrail and into an empty space. For 10 seconds, Egbert flew like a real duck, but then he fell down, down, down into Emerald Valley. Luckily, Egbert fell into a stream where he was carried forward by the force of the water. The fish in the stream thought this was funny. Such a strange duck with wooden wheels. Egbert rolled and floated on past Steelberg, Bottleberg, Cartberg, and Burgersburg, out into Birtlebaum Bay and the sea. This says this is the path of the duck. So you can see he went from here all the way around here. This was where the river went, and he floated along into the sea. An eagle-eyed sailor on board the SS Rover spotted Egbert and tried to rescue him, but a sudden typhoon drove the ship away. Meanwhile, Sebastian prayed that Egbert was safe and that he might return. He wrote several poems in memory of Egbert and tried to forget the whole tragedy by playing baseball with the Indian family from across the street. One night in early September, Egbert was attacked by a shark. The shark pulled Egbert down into the ocean. He bit off one of Egbert's wheels, discovered that it was wood, and swam away in disgust. Egbert floated up past a clownfish, a sea turtle, and a pufffish. The wheel floated up alone. There's the duck, and there's the wheel. After some time, a wave tossed Egbert onto an almost deserted isle. Voila, un canard! Cried Jacques Divan, poet, shipwreck survivor, and Frenchman. That is French for whoopee, a duck. So he'd been there, and he was probably glad to have a friend, even if it was a wooden duck. Jacques wrote a long poem about Egbert called Song to a Duck. The poem begins, "Oh, what luck to find a duck upon a desert isle. He's missing a wheel and his paint's all peeled, but nevertheless he smiles." Time passed slowly. Sebastian and Jacques continued to pray and write poems. One night, a shooting star brightened Jacques' island, and Sebastian awoke from the middle of a dream. The next day, sailors on a French merchant vessel spotted Jacques and carried him and Egbert to France. There was much excitement over the castaways, and the president of France met the ship at port. Le Monde, an important French newspaper, published a photo of Egbert and a copy of Jacques' poem. Sebastian happened to see Egbert's picture at a local newsstand while buying some gum. He immediately went home and wrote a letter to the President of France, enclosing an old photo of Egbert and a couple of his poems. "Please," he wrote, "send Egbert home." Jacques was enjoying dinner when the French president showed him the letter, the photo, and the poems. Jacques tossed his napkin on the table and stood up. "But this is my duck," Jacques cried. They are not the same. They cannot be." But the president's daughter urged him to return the duck. Jacques went for a long walk around the Eiffel Tower. He realized Sebastian's poems were better than his own, and that the wooden duck was probably Sebastian's after all. Meanwhile, the president's daughter checked to see whether Sebastian's name was on Egbert's right front wheel, as Sebastian claimed in his letter. Unfortunately, this wheel was now in Portugal, where a little girl was wearing it on a necklace. You remember that was one that the shark bit off, so they got separated. When he got back to the palace, Jacques announced, "I will return the duck by this evening by air post." The president's daughter kissed Jacques on the cheek. Sebastian received the package and a letter 2 weeks later. Jacques and the French president's daughter were going to be married. They invited Sebastian and his family to the wedding. Everything seemed perfect. Jacques had been rescued, Egbert had returned, and the Willowfrost family would see a French wedding. Sometimes, though, Sebastian tried to imagine what had happened to Egbert's front wheel. And sometimes, far, far away, a little girl in Portugal wondered just who Sebastian Willowfrost was. You see, she is the girl who found the wheel at her ocean port there, and she found it and she put it on a necklace to wear, and that wheel had Sebastian's name on it. She probably thought, "Here's my necklace that I wear, and I wonder, who could that be?" I think it would be interesting to have another story where you thought about what happened if she ever met Sebastian Willowfrost. It was a huge coincidence that he was buying some gum and saw the paper and made the connection to get his toy duck back from France. That was a fun story, and I liked how the duck just traveled so far and how they were reunited at the end. I hope you liked it, and I am excited to see you again in the library so you can pick out some new books to read while we're having spring weather, whether it's wet and chilly and windy or sunny and warm. That is spring, and it means that soon weather will be great and we'll love to be outside. And in the meantime, we'll be busy at school and we'll keep reading and learning many new and awesome things. So I will see you soon. Bye.